And that would have been a shitload of damage, right? You would have been
Yeah.
popping off. You would have carried this pull. And just so people know, you right now you play Assassination Rogue. You do 10-ish keys every week, like you do like level 10 keys or so every week, and you want to get a higher score, right? That's your goal.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through a few things. The first thing that jumped out at me is your UI is very minimalistic. Is that on purpose, or would you like help sort of upgrading your UI a little bit?
Basically, I would say that I like the classic World of Warcraft UI, but
Okay.
sure, it would be nice to see some options maybe.
Sure, yeah. Do you know like about weak ores and stuff?
Yeah.
And you don't want them,
I-
or you don't know how to set them up, or
I have a few weak auras, but not really that many.
okay.
I use it for visions and etc.
Would that be something you're interested in? Because I think weak auras could seriously like upgrade your play.
Yeah, of course.
Perfect. We can get into that after as well. And I looked at your talents. It looks like you're not running Crimson Tempest, which from everything I've read, I don't know. I'm not an Assassination Rogue expert, but I did a bit of research, and from everything I've read, it seems like Crimson Tempest is like the best option 90% of the time.
Oh, okay.
You're running Poison Bomb instead, and you run Poison Bomb on tyrannical weeks for King's Rest, Workshop, like Mechagon Workshop, Atal Dazar, and Temple of Sethralis.
Okay. Yeah.
So those are the four
And
dungeons, and only on tyrannical.
Okay, so the rest is Crimson Tempest.
Yes, yeah. So the first thing I noticed here is that you're mounted, which means that you're not starting the fight in stealth, which is a big issue because of Garrote. You want to get triple Garrote off in this opener
Yeah.
because of
I can see it.
venomous wounds. I don't know if you like have read this passive that Assassination Rogues have, but you get 7 energy every time a bleed hits a poison target. So you really want to make sure that you triple Garrote and then at least get 1 rupture out on the target that isn't garroted if there's more than 3 targets.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that way
that's my usual setup, trying to garrote as many enemies as possible.
Yeah, so that way you're going to get a lot of energy, which is a lot more Fan of Knives spam. And the other thing you do here, I noticed, is you go right into a beam. If you had put out like a Fan of Knives first and gotten some poisons on the targets, the poisons would be ticking at the same time as the beam is going. And that's going to be a lot more damage than if you were to just beam like you did, right? Because then you have multiple damage sources going at once instead of just the one. So ideally the play here would have been start in stealth, triple Garrote, get out a rupture, put out a Fan of Knives so that everything has a bleed on it, and then beam. And that would have been a shitload of damage, right? You would have been popping off. You would have carried this pull. And that would have been a shitload of damage, right? You would have been popping off. You would have carried this pull. And I think that's E and then Q. Like those are good keybinds. You got Shift Q and stuff. You have like, for example, you have like your mount bound. If you don't want to add extra keybinds, it's probably worth taking your mount off keybind and putting stealth on, and then just putting your mount on an unbound key. Yeah, or the parachute. And I want to point something out to you. Can you see your character right now?
No.
No. It's in the middle of this giant ass pack, and when you start to get to higher keys, especially on fortified, and things are like doing random cleave things in front of them, it is a very good way to die. So my suggestion to you would to always be able to see your character, because if you can't see your character, you don't know, one, if something's casting on you, because if you're outside of the pack and something turns to you and starts casting, it's a lot more obvious than if you're in the middle and they're just casting, because you don't know what target they're on. You also can't see if there's anything under your character, so you probably want to be like around here is probably where you'd want your character to be positioned in this pull. Just on the outside a little bit, because it's just a lot safer, right?
That makes sense.
Cool. And then we go up here, and I noticed this ability right here. Just keep an eye on that throughout the dungeon. But anyway, so you're here, you're in the middle of the pack again, but obviously you know now, so I'm not going to keep drilling on about the same issue. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to talk about, sort of like about your character setup, before we actually keep going, is Azerite traits. You said you were mostly focused on Mythic Plus?
Yeah.
I noticed that you had a lot of single target Azerite traits, and I was wondering if because you're focused on Mythic Plus, I think it would be a lot better if you were to just do AoE Azerite traits.
Yeah, I think I have at least one for the Vendetta.
Yeah.
And that should probably be changed.
Because you want triple Echoing Blade. It seems to be really, really good. And what Echoing Blade does is it, when your Fan of Knives crits, sends out like a second wave of Fan of Knives for every crit that it does. Right? So if you Fan of Knives and it crits like 3 targets in a pack of 5, then it sends out 3 mini Fan of Knives on the pack, which would be insane damage, right? Like that's going to add up like crazy over the course of a dungeon.
Yeah.
Right? And here, I noticed as well that you don't Fan of Knives these boys that spawn. So that's going to be a lot more damage as well. It's just about damage efficiency, right? Just squeezing out as much damage you can in every situation. Right there it was actually. Is when you got hit by the thing. It wasn't the fact that you got hit by it, because everyone makes mistakes, right? But that was because you couldn't see your character.
Yeah, probably.
So it's hard to see where you're going, and it's hard to calculate sort of like how much more room you have to move before you hit that trap. And then you hit it, and that sucks. I mean, everyone makes mistakes, right? But I think that one could have been prevented if you had just been like on the outside of the pack, sort of. And right here, these things actually last a while too. Your group's not really quick at killing them. So if you got a Fan of Knives out, you would get at least a few ticks of deadly poison on these boys, which would add up to be a lot of extra damage over the course of the fight. Like your warrior bro stormed there for them, but then there's already another pack of them right there. Yeah, and I think you walk into another trap, but again, I think that's because you were under the boss and you had trouble seeing where your character was, so you were trying to back out to like be able to see where your character was, but you backed into a trap. Whereas if you play the outside of the fight from the start, then you're not going to be under the boss where you can't see your character.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that all makes sense. You do a lot of work to get out of this. You just keep running and running and running, and rogues are sick for that because they have passive move speed. But while you're running through the boy, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, that you overcap on energy. What I would have done is I would have just fainted. Right? You have like the strongest defensive in the game. You have a 40% damage reduction on a 15-second cooldown, I think it is now. It didn't used to have a cooldown, but this expansion, it's a 15-second cooldown. You could have tanked that. That would not have killed you with a 40% damage reduction.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be true.
It's just that extra little bit of damage. You garrote this guy. Good. Garrote, and we garrote, maybe? No, we rupture. Okay, so we got 3 bleeds out. Good. I think if you had acted a little bit quicker, you could have, you know that when you garrote out of stealth, it does more damage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think if you had gone a little bit quicker, or like you can use stealth abilities, which includes garrote. So those 80% extra damage garrotes can happen for 3 garrotes, or for 2 extra garrotes after you leave stealth. So you can get a triple garrote for 80% increased damage on all those targets.
Yeah, exactly. The goal is to get 3, but I realize that sometimes I don't manage to get all 3. Just
Yeah.
the 2 of them.
Yeah. So if you just garrote, just try to work on that. That's going to be a lot of damage, right? So a lot of damage. So you always want to, even if you're overcapping on combo points coming out of stealth, you want to get that triple garrote in that window because it's 80% extra damage, which is like, I mean, basically double damage garrotes is just insane.
Yeah.
On 3 targets taken away, oof, you're gonna be flying, dude. You're gonna be popping off. Easy, and then you go into the thing, you get your stealth off, which is awesome. You garrote him, and then what do you think you should do now?
Probably garrote the tentacles.
Yeah, the ones that are right beside you. If you can't get in range, I mean, that sucks. That's just gonna happen sometimes. But these guys are right beside you, so you could have turned garrote, and I think you would have made it in time. But I think you just keep single targeting the boy. Look at Vendetta. We still haven't used it since the boss.
Yeah.
I think, I'm just gonna go back here, what are we at? We're at 8 minutes 30-ish. So we're on the boss, we're on the boss. You actually had it again? Like, you might have been able to get it. I don't know if you would have got the full use out of it, so maybe holding it here was fine. But then I don't think you used it on this guy. And yeah, I think you could have. You can also...
probably didn't.
You can also Cloak of Shadows his AoE as well. So if I put a cooldown on a boss, and I can do something to, like, not have to move out, did you Cloak of Shadows and moved out anyways, so you didn't even have to faint. You could have just stayed in with Cloak. It makes you immune to that damage. So
I think I cloaked because before this we went into the tunnels because I got rooted, I think.
Oh no, you were probably slowed by these slow things, these guys. I think you were just trying to like get out of the slow with the yeah, you were, yeah. Yeah. So I think, I don't even know, you might have even gotten hit by that, but maybe cloak like stopped the damage. It's hard to tell.
It looks pretty tight.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're gonna cloak the things anyways, you may as well just stay in it and do some extra damage. And you could have vendetted him and like popped off on him, right? I haven't done the math, but you definitely did not get near enough vendettas out as you could have, and that's gonna add up to so much extra damage in the dungeon if you just keep vendetta on cooldown.
Yeah, I usually just try to save it for the bosses, but I guess these, what do you say, horrific bosses, they should be able to at least get vendetta for those as well.
Yeah. You got the triple Garrote there, good shit. Good shit, so you got the triple. I also noticed you're running Infinite Stars. Do you have any other corruptions? Because Infinite Stars really isn't that good in dungeons.
Yeah, I have Twilight Devastation as well.
You probably are going to want to use that. It looks...
I'm
Sorry, go on.
using it.
Oh, you are using it. Oh, yeah,
I'm
I've seen the
both.
beam. Okay. Do you... And those are the only two that you have, or...?
Yeah, I think I have 2 of the Twilight Devastation, and then Infinite Stars, and
Okay.
maybe 1 stat.
And the other thing is that if you know the echoing blades Azurite trait I was telling you about, that you want 3 of them. If you're running 3 of those, you want 45% crit. Let's say if we absolutely wanted to use it on cooldown, ignoring the fact that we wouldn't have got a full use out of it, we have it at 415, and the next cast of Vendetta happens at where was that?
Yeah.
13 minutes, which is 11 minutes. You could have gotten 5 or 6 casts of Vendetta in the time you got 1.
Yeah.
Right, and over the course of the dungeon, that's going to be a big difference, right? Because the rogue who casts 5 Vendettas is going to do more damage than the rogue who casts 1.
Yeah, of course.
Right, and that's going to be a massive difference in damage.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry so much about the bosses. It's nice that you want to save your cooldowns for the bosses, and I can completely understand that. But for the time being, I would probably just use Vendetta on cooldown. And then when you start to understand the pulls and like the dungeons a little bit better, then you can start to save it for like bigger packs and better opportunities. But for now, you'd be better off just using it on cooldown, basically.
I can't really
Yeah,
remember.
I think you got a Garrote on him, or no, that's a Rupture. Sorry, you got a Rupture on him. I would probably apply a poison as well, so that the Venomous Wounds trait starts activating and giving you extra energy, because that's just going to be more damage, more free damage. And the other thing I want to point out, the other cooldown is this. Did you know that that's a DPS cooldown? Vanish?
Yeah, I guess you could use it to get improved Garrotes.
Yeah. Do you know how many times you use it in this dungeon?
Probably 0.
Yeah, so what you do is you triple Garrote, and then you rupture the target. Like if there's more than 3 targets, you triple Garrote, and then you rupture the target that doesn't have Garrote on it, right? Because that way you have 4 bleeds, and you're just like, you have 4 bleeds, and they're probably all gonna have deadly poison on them at that point. And so every time those bleeds tick, you're getting 7 energy. So if you have 4 targets, it's 28 energy every. I think deadly poison ticks like every 2 seconds or something. That's 28 energy extra every 2 seconds, and then you Crimson Tempest, and you Vanish to reapply Garrotes on everyone. So you want to Vanish on cooldown, basically, just to get the second, like, not on cooldown, but you want to Vanish when the Garrotes are falling off.
Yeah.
To get the second double damage Garrote. So if you, like, meld, and then you bind stealth, so if you meld and then instantly hit the stealth bind, you'll, like, insta-re-stealth, get the Garrote off, and you'll be chilling, man. You are gonna be like destroying people on damage, I swear. There was, I think, maybe one instance where you go into here and you don't start the fight in stealth. I think it's because you should be able to, but yeah, you went for it. I saw you went for it, but you didn't get it fast enough. And I think if you had it, keybound, it'd be so much easier, right? Or if you're not gonna have it keybound, I mean, I really recommend you do. But if you're not gonna have it keybound, what you could do is while your character's channeling, you could move your mouse down there. Like right now your mouse could be moving there to be ready to click it as soon as you get in, right? But your mouse is just chilling in the middle of the screen. Oh, one tip for this boss is that you don't want to drop the barrels outside of the room, because when the boss fight starts, they're going to reset into the room.
Okay.
But what you can do is you can take the barrels and drop them into one corner so that you already clear like an area of the room as the safe zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's about all I had. Do you have any like questions or anything for me? Anything I've touched on?
No, I don't think so. I think it was pretty clear.
Okay.
And, I think the biggest part is the cooldowns,
Yeah,
as you said.
that's a good call. So this is like what the weak auras look like. This will be like sort of somewhere in your screen wherever you put it. I'd recommend maybe like just under your character. So it's going to show you your Garrote uptime, your Rupture uptime. It's going to tell you when you have Vendetta off cooldown. So you just want to be hitting that button as much as possible. Same with Vanish. Like when you go into a pack and the double damage Garrote start to wear off, you could Vanish, throw them on again, right? And if you start doing that, man, I think you're just gonna be flying. I swear, dude, you'll be doing the most damage. You're gonna make me look bad. Right? I'll need coaching from you.
Probably not, but I get your point.
I'm also gonna link you actually this is a really, really good resource as well. The #1 assassination rogue for Mythic Plus in the world runs his own Discord.
Oh yeah.
So if you ever need like advice or anything like that, I can help you with general stuff. He's gonna be a whole lot better at actual rogue stuff. You were using the default UI because you liked it, and I'm actually the same way. I actually use the default UI as well, but you can move it around a bit so it's easier to like see all the important information that you want to see. I use the default UI. I just moved it. Having to look up here for your character health, I just found really, really annoying. So I moved my character health here. And all you have to do that is right click on your character, go to move frame, and then unlock, and you can just drag it around wherever you want. And same thing with the target frame. And then I just put my weak auras right there. So I can see my abilities as soon as they come up. I don't have to look at my bars, because when you have to like look all the way down at your screen and you look at your bars, you don't see like what your character's doing. You don't see where it is. You don't see if there's any cast going off. You're not looking at your boss timers. You're just looking down at the bottom, and that's dangerous for like dying. So I like to have the weak aura. I linked you what looked like a pretty good weak aura pack. If it doesn't work for you, you can just delete it. All you have to do is go to this site, or you can even just search Assassination Rogue weak auras, and it'll pop up right here. Top one gives you all the weak auras you could ever want for an Assassination Rogue when it actually loads. Here you go. See, these are all the different weak auras you could get for an Assassination Rogue.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of options.
Yeah, there's tons and tons. Like maybe this one works for you. This one has combo points and energy there, as well as like a Vendetta timer telling you how much time is left on your Vendetta when you use it. This one looks pretty cool. They're all fairly similar. But yeah, the big things, right? Try to bind stealth, try to use Fan of Knives and AoE more often, and just use your cooldowns more. And other than that, you're doing fine.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's see if I...
And then other than that, man, you have yourself a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too.
Alright, man. Have a good one, and enjoy the rest of your lunch.